what does it mean to master the art of insanity?
You know what? It means that you have to believe in the things that nobody else sees. It means that you believe in the dreams and the goals that you have harder than anybody else does. So much that so that everybody's telling you you're crazy. You can't do that. You know what I mean? What you believe, what you have in your mind is unbelievable to other people. And you have to master that. You have to determine that, you know what? I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think about what I have to do. I'm going to master this and I'm going to pursue it until satisfied. And that's another issue right there is, a lot of people that have this kind of mindset really lack satisfaction in a lot of things, right? Because I'm not easily satisfied at all. So that's exactly what the mastering the art of insanity is. Doing the things that everybody says you can't do, the things that nobody believes in, but somebody's got to do it, brother. Somebody's got to do it.
That's true, yeah. And when you get into that kind of mindset, it's hard because you know how good it could really be and like what it could really become instead of just being like, oh, you know what? I did it. It is what it is. I like the way it is. Because that's like more of the stable mindset to have with it.
Yeah, it's a lackluster mindset. The fact that here, if you have a goal, if you have something that got put on your heart, right? That's rare enough. That's you know let's say 1 in a million, even then it's probably even, I don't know about that maybe. Let's say it's 1 in a million. Just to wake up every day and know that you have a purpose beyond like just going to a regular job and waking up and doing that, coming home and watching TV and just lounging and just existing, right? Like the kids say nowadays, an NPC. That's not my style. But to have that in your heart and to have the passion to pursue it, to have a lust for life, to have an idea that you can do more. Like I said, somebody's got to do it, right? Michael Jordan didn't become Michael Jordan just by chance. He didn't just wake up and have all these skills. He had to work for that. And I'm sure through that whole time of him going up, everybody said, "You're crazy. You're insane. It'll never happen." Or just basically anybody that has a main goal, a massive goal. Everybody wants you to dumb it down. They want you to play it safe. They want you to just be basically just live your life as a lame. And when you get 80 years old, you could say, "Ah, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Wish I woulda went for it." But I'm not about that life, bro. I don't want that. That's like the biggest fear that I have is to wake up at 80 years old or be 80 and say, "I came that close, but I didn't have the courage, or I lacked the drive, or I lacked the wherewithal, or you know what I mean?" There's a lot of people that are going to do that in
Yeah.
their life, and that is not me.
Yeah, definitely. I think that now, especially, it's being just pushed to not have like that big personality and not try to go for more. And like it's seen as like they'll say it's like cringe and it's like weird to want to be different.
Yeah, and nowadays we have platforms, obviously every if you have social media, you almost have your own channel, right? And determining where that goes, right? Back in the day, to be on television, you used to have some talent or some fame that got you there. Now you can build your platform alone off of social media to expand your platform to something bigger as long as you're entertaining, quote unquote cringe, right? Because cringe goes a long way. I'm not into that, but cringe goes a long way nowadays where people do all this wild stuff that just half the population is going, "Oh man, this is ridiculous." But another half is just watching to see, is this going to be a car wreck or is this going to blow up and be something good? So there is value in that as well.
Yeah. So let's go over here to the fighting realm. Is what is like your moment of kind of being like, this is who I'm gonna be. This is what I'm going to do. Because sometimes it could just not be fighting. Sometimes that's like not exactly something that you kind of just become. It's something that you're built into. So what was like that moment for you where you realized that this is who you are?
Growing up, I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. That was like my goal, right? Through since I was itty bitty, I wanted to go into pro wrestling. And as I got older, I had, real bad attitude, got into a lot of street fights, things like that. And I started training and my life was not going in a good way. I was homeless for a period of time and literally sleeping outside, not couch surfing, literally sleeping on the cold ground. And that sucked. And this was going into a winter time and I was living in Washington at the time. And my mom ended up getting an apartment. And when she moved in, I moved in with her. I didn't even have a bed, didn't have anything. And I remember I was laying on the ground one night, uh, at the apartment, sleeping on the ground. And as crazy as this sounds, I had an encounter with God that was audible, to the fact that I heard God's audible voice basically saying, "What are you doing? You're wasting your life. I gave you all this potential. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with all these talents that I gave you?" And I knew that that was the path that I had to go. Some people might say that sounds crazy, but it wasn't. It was an audible voice that I heard. And it still took me a couple years to determine that that was the path I was going to go, right? Because I was still hanging out with a lot of troublemakers, still hanging out with not a positive crowd. We were all headed in the wrong direction. And so I was 17 at that time. And basically by 19, I knew that, all right, this was 100% the path that I was going to take. So at that point, too, bare knuckle was still illegal. It wasn't even on my mindset, but I wanted to go either MMA or kickboxing. And that was basically the seed that was planted, right? And it got watered over the years. It's been worked and watered, tilled and retilled and replanted and everything like that until it got to this point. So it took me basically 20 years to get to this point, but I also consider the first 20 years of my life almost, other than a lesson, almost a throwaway and a waste of time, because I just wasted the first 20 years of my life just screwing off.
Uh, So with that, was there, because sometimes when you have that time period early on where it's like you're kind of running from something and you're not really pursuing anything, it could kind of carry over to certain time frames and certain little flashes when you are working for something now. Has there ever been a moment where you got that kind of came back and you were just kind of afraid? Like when you're like going into a fight, you kind of felt that moment again of like, do I really deserve to be here? Do I actually belong here?
Uh, no, I don't think I ever feel like, do I actually belong here? Because I feel like deserve is a word I don't use. I think the only thing you deserve is an ass whooping. I think that I've earned everything that I have, right? Nobody's given me anything. Everything that I have is mine. And that's a true statement. Everything that I have is mine. There's been people, of course, that helped out along the way, training partners and this and that, but I've earned everything through blood, sweat, and tears. So, uh, I that's a tough one. No, I don't look back and say, am I in the right place? I 100% feel that I'm in the right place, earned everything that I have. And again, the only thing you can deserve is an ass whooping.
I like that. So when you stepped into the BKFC, what was the biggest mental shift that kind of happened?
Wow, biggest mental shift. The biggest mental shift is to determine not necessarily when I first got there, but making sure that you don't get into your head that you are something. I read this quote years ago. It says, "You who believe yourself to be someone." And stay humble, in my opinion. You need to stay humble. Who do you think you are to think that you're somebody special and to think that you're any type of star or anything like that? So I keep that in my mind. Treat every fight as if it's like a debut fight, and you got to go in and show out and show them what you got, right? Try to put your stamp on every single fight as if like this is my opportunity. No different than like, Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner in The Ultimate Fighter. They thought that there was only one contract available that night, and they fought like it, right? Because that was a big deal. I think that's how, you need to go
Mm.
out and prove yourself. You who believe yourself to be someone, who are you to think that you're somebody special in this game? No matter what, whether you had the title or whether you were a debut, there's still more to strive for. And I think that you should pursue that and put it on the line every time.
So for you, like with that statement, you see a lot of times guys will be like told that, hey, you're destined to be this. You're gonna be like the greatest ever do it. And then they kind of go on and be like, oh, well, everyone's saying I am, so I am gonna be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they kind of like take the pedal off the gas and kind of be like, well, it's gonna just naturally happen. I don't
Exactly.
need to work all the time for it.
Yeah, that's
How do
exactly.
you think what do you think like people have to see early on to kind of realize that it's not gonna be that way? What is like a little thing they could do to kinda keep themselves from that mindset?
Well, one, you gotta lay a brick every day, and you're not just laying bricks, you're building a cathedral. I say that all the time, right? We're not out here just laying bricks, we're trying to build a cathedral. We're trying to build something that is worth looking back and having reverence for, right? To look back at you build a legacy that you can look back and you can say, I'm proud of the things that I did. Everything that it cost me to get there, I'm proud of that. But you gotta lay that brick every single day, and it has to be laid in order. It can't just be laid sloppily, right? You got to put the mortar down. The consistency is the mortar that has to be done every single day. And you can't do all the work every day, but you can do some work every day, right? You can do a little bit here, a little bit there, because I can't do every single bit of training for a fight every single day. It's impossible, right? So each day you have to make sure that you did it today as if it wasn't done tomorrow or yesterday, excuse me. You did it today as if it wasn't done yesterday. Oh, I forgot what I was supposed to do yesterday. I must do it today. And you do that the next day, the next day, the next day, and you constantly are trying to build that cathedral, right? You can't let off the gas in that aspect. You have to treat every day as if the work needs to get done. you're the only one that's gonna do it, right?
Yeah, that's true. No one else is gonna do it if you're not.
Absolutely.
That's that is true, yeah. I think sometimes when we get older, especially, like, when you're little, you're used to, like, other people kinda picking up what you aren't doing, and then there's, like, a certain point where it's like, it's not gonna happen if you're not gonna do it.
Yeah,
You're the only one that's responsible for that.
yeah, absolutely. That's one of the probably best
But
lessons I learned from dealing with my father is that here, my father, he's a hard man, and with him, there is no safety net. If you're not doing it, he's not helping you. So, there's a give and take where I'm not probably not as hard on my kids as he was on me with things, but it allowed me to understand that there is no safety net to any of this, right? If you're not doing it, it is not getting done. So you better get your ass in gear and do it.
yeah. 2 more questions for you here. First one, when you're training or you're in a fight and you're exhausted and you're hurt and you're just like you just don't have that physical capacity to do it anymore, what do you mentally tell yourself? What is that conversation you have?
So there's been 2 fights in particular that I was just completely exhausted, and one was when I was kickboxing. I was really sick before this fight. Actually, both fights I was sick before the fight. I was really sick before the fight, had a bad weight cut, everything like that, and I remember feeling like my legs were full of cement. And in my mind, I mean, that one was a kind of a different scenario, but it was like just survive at that point. But when Matt Suckalupchuk and I fought, I was really sick before that fight too. I was on antibiotics. And in the 4th round, him and I just dug in. And I remember thinking, like, I can't let this guy kill me, because I knew Matt was coming for me. And that was it. It was just bite down and try to smash, try to survive. And I remember thinking there was a point where he had me up against the corner and he was hitting me with punches. And I thought if I don't unleash every last little bit of energy that I have right here, that this is where I'm dying. This is where I'm going out. And I unloaded just a bunch of hard punches, got out of there, and then we continued the fight. But you're thinking it feels like, like in a video game when you have the little energy meter, it feels like you're down to like a little blinking one little line at times, and then boop, 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 it builds back up just off of I don't know, tenacity, I suppose. But you just have to push through. And then I think either you have it or you don't. That's the time where you see if somebody quits or not. If somebody's bitch or if they got the dog in them, if they're gonna go, I'm tired, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna take a knee, or I'm gonna turn my back, or whatever it may be. That's that's where you find it out when, your lungs are gone and your heart is pumping and that's all you got.
Yeah, that's why they always it it's a conversation of where people respect people's skills and everything besides fighting. That's when everyone's like, "Oh, I could fight. I know I can fight."
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of they step in there and they see how it really feels, and it's like it's one of the most humbling things to go through.
Yeah, I get a kick out of that too, because it's funny that people think the madder they get, the better they can fight. The layman, right? The average person. They say, "Oh, I just see red and I can do that." Imagine me telling you that, uh I just get so mad I could play a beautiful piano quartet. I get so mad I could just play this piano, or I get so mad I could just score hockey goals. I can ice skate, but I can't play hockey. That makes no sense. It's crazy for somebody to think that the madder you got, the better off you're gonna be fighting somebody that knew what they were doing. It doesn't work like that.
So last question, which I know I said before, but that one came in mind, is, what is the biggest takeaway from martial arts in your life?
Oh, wow. A redevelopment and total rebuild up of who I was as a human being, right? It's been, if you're growing up and you have a piss poor foundation, you can literally wash that foundation of sand away and rebuild your base off of that, right? Build it with respect, integrity, treating yourself with respect, which is a bit redundant. Just having any respect is self respect. Um, yeah, learning how to go about things, how to be strong in life, how to never quit on things, and it builds that backbone, right? It builds everything about um, every high quality I think that I have. A part of it has been developed by martial arts. That's for certain.